Hello everyone, and happy 250th of America. We have a big day ahead. We are starting here at John Adams Peace Field in Quincy, Massachusetts. Not only is today the 250th anniversary of our independence, it is the 200th anniversary of the passing of Mr. John Adams. Of course, he's one of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, and he was on that fabulous committee of 5, and he's one of 5 signers from the state of Massachusetts. And it's a fascinating story because he passed away 200 years ago on July 4th, and that happened right upstairs, right up there. And the chair he passed away in is actually still up there. Now the house is closed because of the heat today, and they do not have air conditioning, which to me is a little crazy. The cool thing about the Adams house here, Peacefield, is that it has the original furnishings, art, and everything inside because only the Adamses ever lived here, and then it was given over to the National Park System, so it retains all its original features. You would think air conditioning would help to preserve all of that, but I guess they have a different school of thought on that. Not only did John Adams pass away in 1826, Thomas Jefferson did as well, and it's such an amazing story because they had a lifelong friendship. At times they were frenemies, and then before they passed, they patched things up. A lot of that was thanks to the wonderful Pennsylvanian Dr. Benjamin Rush, who was also friends of both of them and made sure that their wounds were healed before they passed on. And when I say wounds, I don't mean physical wounds, though he was a doctor. I mean emotional wounds. Their friendship was reignited and put some political and policy differences aside and realized that they were more friends than anything. But they did both pass away on the 4th of July, 1826. And in a very fascinating and interesting twist of fate, one of my favorite stories from early America, when John Adams was in the process of going on to his next adventure in heaven, his last words were, "Thomas Jefferson survives." And he didn't realize that Thomas Jefferson had actually passed away just before him. So really interesting that that is what he said right before he went. And I'm sure Jefferson was there at the pearly gates and was surprised to see his friend John Adams so soon. Now, they weren't the only founding fathers to pass away on the 4th of July. The only other president who also passed away on the 4th of July was the wonderful James Monroe. We just learned about Scottish Monroes yesterday at Monroe Tavern. Different Monroe line, but James Monroe, Virginia, another wonderful man, a founding father. He also passed away on the 4th of July, but not in 1826. And another wonderful, wonderful president, one of my favorite, Calvin Coolidge. He was born on the 4th of July. So a lot of things are closed because of the heat index. The house is not open for tours. The Stone Library is, but it is sold out for the day. They have gone to first come, first serve. I've brought you guys here before, and I'll leave a link in the description. They often change the way that they do things here at the Adams National Historical Park, and in the past it's been confusing. They have an online system, which they stopped using. I think it's actually better that you just come, you go down to the visitor center downtown down the street, you get tickets. If you get them, you get them. If you don't, you don't. Kind of makes it more fair. And on less busy days, I think you probably have a better shot of getting in. But inside of this library, which we will come back, I promise, I will show you guys, is some amazing, amazing artifacts. And it is the libraries of both President John Adams and President John Quincy Adams, his son. And the Amistad Bible is in there. That is the Bible that was given to John Quincy Adams after they won the trial for the Amistad, should I say, victims, survivors, victors, the wonderful folks that were horribly treated and brought over on the ship Amistad, and John Quincy Adams successfully helped gain them their freedom. Now we will, after this, go take a look at the other Adams properties right here in town. So this is the last house that John Adams lived in. This is the one that he built that he lived in with Abigail and the children. This is the one that John Quincy Adams lived in and grew up in, with Louisa Adams. And this was the biggest and nicest of his properties. Really beautiful on the inside, and I really do look forward to coming back and bringing you guys that complete story another time. But his John Adams' birthplace and childhood home are also here. And so that is something we will take a look at, as well as the church crypt where the Adamses are buried. I think it'd be appropriate to pay respect today, being the 200th anniversary of his passing and the 250th anniversary of America, something that he fought so hard for. So you guys know, if and when you do come visit as well, they do have this air-conditioned quote-unquote trolley. It's a nice bus that you get on down the street at the visitor center, and it is air-conditioned, and it will drive you to the Adams properties at the National Historic Park, so you can visit in style and AC. I must say that God definitely has a sense of humor, because all of this is very historically accurate. As a matter of fact, when they signed and approved the Declaration of Independence, it was sweltering. It was like 100 degrees in Philadelphia. So I think maybe the Lord is just reminding us of the sacrifice, the toil, and the heat that they experienced. And he's like, let's go full historical accuracy, and let's be hot for the 250th as well. So here we've got this nice signage here. John and Abigail Adams acquired this house upon their return from England in 1788. It became home to 4 generations of the Adams family, including John and John Quincy Adams, during their presidencies. Later generations referred to it fondly as the old house. Of this property, John Adams wrote, "I think to chasten my place by the name of Peacefield, in commemoration of the peace which I assisted in making in 1783 of the 13th year, peace and neutrality which I have contributed to preserve, and to the constant peace and tranquility which I have enjoyed in this residence." September 8th, 1796, and I think that that is perfectly lovely. If you guys have watched the John Adams series that HBO produced a few years ago, it's a wonderful, highly recommend, highly recommend. And it does show Peacefield, but they make it look a lot more rural, as it was with all of the farmland and property. And you can see now it's just in this neighborhood close to the city and downtown, with cars zooming by. One last look at the beautiful Peacefield. I just love being here. John Adams was a wonderful, wonderful man. Did so much for this country. And you can feel a peace here at Peacefield that's something everyone should be able to experience. Just yesterday, I took you guys to the Hancock Clark House in Lexington, and now we are at the spot where John Hancock was actually born. If you guys remember, I told you that John Hancock was born in Braintree and it's now Quincy. This is the spot. John Hancock birth site and Adams Academy. In 1737, John Hancock was born in a house on this site. The house was later the home of the Josiah Quincy family, before being destroyed by the fire in 1759. That's a shame. In 1822, John Adams is endowing a school to prepare boys for college, specified to be built on this site in honor of Hancock, to whose great exertions and unlimited sacrifices this nation is so deeply indebted. And Josiah Quincy Jr., as ardent a patriot as any at his age, and next to James Otis, the greatest orator. The Adams Academy opened in this building, designed by William Ware and Henry Van Brunt, in 1872 and continued until 1907. My tricorn hats off to the city of Quincy, Massachusetts, for these beautiful new historic markers, cleaning up all of the parks and public spaces, and just all of the beautification that has gone on the last couple of years, cleaning up crime, making it safe, making it beautiful. And Quincy is now a really lovely place to visit. On this spot stood the dwelling where was born John Hancock, President of the Congress of the United States. Now, if you notice, that signage was very much in favor of Mr. Hancock, a man that I love. And you guys saw me get a little frustrated at the end of our tour of the Hancock Clark House yesterday. And I told you I wasn't going to get into it too much about that situation. But I do feel compelled to say, because what really spiked it off, what really started my deep inner fury yesterday, was when our tour guide actually started the tour by saying, and I quote, "The reason John Hancock became a founding father is because he was wealthy. And it took wealth to become a founding father. And that's the only reason he's known as a founding father, was because he was so rich and successful. I would just like to say, no, buddy, wrong. The reason that John Hancock was a founding father is because despite his wealth, and he did not grow up wealthy, it was thrust upon him when his father passed away, and his wealthy aunt and uncle took him in, and thank God they did, because he got a wonderful education and he was able to use his wealth for good. But that wasn't even it. It's because this is what made him exceptional. It was because he was willing to lay down that wealth. He was willing to throw it all in the trash heap. He was willing to put it all on the line and get rid of it if it meant having a country, if it meant having liberty and justice. He would be willing to throw away all that wealth, but he used it for good and for the patriot cause. And not only his wealth, his life, his fortune, and his sacred honor, he was willing to quite literally lay down his life, because he was one of the most wanted men in America, and he knew that. And despite that, despite the very real threat to his person, he persevered with boldness in the spirit of liberty, and he deserves to be remembered, loved, recognized, and adored. On this site was born John Hancock, January 23rd, 1737, son of Reverend John Hancock, pastor what is now the First Parish Church in Quincy. On his father's death, he was adopted by his uncle, Boston's wealthiest merchant, in 1744. Graduated Harvard College in 1754, married Dorothy Quincy in 1775, president of the Second Continental Congress in 1775, first signer of the Declaration of Independence, saying, "I write so that George III may read without his spectacles." That is why he had the giant signature now known as the John Hancock. Signed Act of Incorporating Town of Quincy in 1792, died at Boston in the Hancock House built of Quincy granite, 1793, buried with great ceremony in the Granary Burying Ground, Boston. He wrote his name where all nations should behold it, and where all time should not efface it. Yeah, boom, mic drop.
Too high to go.
We've been married a long time, so I know when I see a twinkle in the eye and temptation looming. There is a perfectly good traffic cone.
I'd have to lift you up there.
I'm not going up there.
I think you can get up there
I'm not doing that.
if I hoist you.
Somebody more agile and younger than us take up the cone challenge. And that is the Historical Society building. They're only open Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And seasonally, so check with that. They are not open today. Of course, it is the 4th of July, and it is a Saturday, but definitely something to revisit, because I'm sure they've got some cool stuff inside. I already know John Hancock about as well as you could know someone who's been dead for a couple hundred years, but I feel very vindicated, happy, and ready to celebrate 250 years right now. Not even a mile from where we just were at the Hancock birth site is this beautiful plaza that was done in the more recent times. And over here is the church where the Adamses are buried, and the church where Hancock attended, and the church that the Adamses attended. And full circle moment here. Oh, these amazing men. These men who took up the challenge for this incredible experiment that has worked and lasted 250 years. Man, they have made Quincy beautiful. I really appreciate all the efforts. Is the old City Hall, built in 1844. Looking beautiful this 4th of July. Here is my girl, Abigail. She was amazing. couple's goals right here, her and John. They were awesome, ultimate power couple. Minister's daughter, and John was quite captivated by her, and they had an amazing relationship, friendship, and partnership. This is how fierce she was and how beautifully she writes. Listen to this. We are no ways dispirited here. We possess a spirit that will not be conquered. If our men are all drawn off and we should be attacked, you would find a race of Amazons in America. And that was in one of her letters, her many letters to John. They would usually write starting with, "My dearest friend." And here we go, the Church of the Presidents. Built in 1828, this church is the fourth edifice, housed the town's earliest congregation, and is the resting place of two United States presidents and first ladies. The building was endowed by John Adams, who specified it to be a temple of stone built of Quincy granite. In 1826, John Quincy Adams proposed that the church become the permanent resting place of his parents, a plain and modest monument that may yet be as durable as the walls of the temple and as the rock of his native town. In 1852, the church also became the resting place of John Quincy Adams and Louisa Catherine Adams. And an interesting fact about Louisa, until Melania Trump came along, Louisa was the first and only first lady to be born not in the United States. Ironically, the wonderful Louisa was born in London, England. Pretty funny. And here is our friend, Mr. John Hancock. Looking dapper as he would have. The best dressed man in the Continental Congress. And all of this was dedicated on the 243rd anniversary. I thought it was newer than that. Okay. Well, I'm glad they did it. It looks beautiful. When I first started coming here, it was not as much. And now it looks amazing. Look at this. Here we've got today's real star of the show. Of course, it took these amazing men to come up with the brilliance and writing of Thomas Jefferson and the nerve and fortitude of the 56 signers who came forward and pledged everything for this. It is really hot. The sun keeps going in and out, and there's a big difference when it's like full sun. So this is better, and it's nice under the shade, but it's very, very humid. So I'm definitely starting to get to be a sweaty mess. So stay tuned. Let's see by the end of things here if I end up looking like a total melted mess. All right, here we go. From a grateful nation and commonwealth, indeed. Here we are, 200 years after he left this earth, and 250 after he helped form this republic. Wow. They've all long gone to heaven, but it's still cool to come and pay respects and reflect. Thanks, guys. It's about 210 degrees in here. Hopping in the visitor center real quick, just because
Yeah. 2:35, Charlie. What time? Yeah, see you in 20 minutes.
Excellent lineup here. Fantastic, classic, wonderful, great book. Not so much. Very, very good. And a must read. Another must read. And that too. I could have brought you guys here and pretend we were standing inside the Stone Library.
Yeah, that's a good version. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
It was nice to get a little break and some air conditioning and relax for a minute and check out the gift shop. It does seem as well, and I'm very happy to say this, that things have improved and are steadily improving at the Adams National Historic Park. And I didn't see any of the rude people that worked there for years that have been pretty horrible that everyone complains about in the past. Everybody was super nice. So that's great. Because think about it, people visit from all over the world. They're coming to learn about the Adamses, one of our most wonderful families. We shouldn't be treated like crap. So, bonus for the pleasantries here and turning things around. We're at the John Adams and John Quincy Adams birthplaces. And it is the 250th of the signing of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. So how about we go over here and listen to a reading of the sacred document that we've been talking so much about. On the 250th anniversary of America. President John Adams and President John Quincy Adams birthplaces. John Adams was born in 1735 and John Quincy Adams in 1767. Abigail's from just a little ways down the road too. Her house is open very rarely. It is open for the season, but only once a month. And every time I want to go, something comes up and I've been unable to get in, but one day we will. This is the birthplace of probably our most intelligent president we have ever had, the brilliant, wonderful, exceptional, kind John Quincy Adams. So of course that means that this is the birthplace, home of John Adams, our second president and first VP, which he thought was a ridiculous position and pretty useless.
Over on this side, we have the birthplace of John Adams. And on this side, we have the birthplace of John Quincy Adams. As for this house, it's built in the 1680s, but purchased by John's father in the 1720s. John is born here in October of 1735 and spends his childhood in this house. After that, he will pursue his law career over in Worcester. He does that, he comes back, he gets married, and he moves over into this house. This is the birthplace of John Quincy Adams. It is where John and Abigail live, where they have all their children, and it is where they will spend the Revolutionary War. The Adamses are notably living in this house at the time the Declaration of Independence is signed. So obviously John is in Philadelphia for that. Abigail is actually in Boston being inoculated at the exact time, but this is their residence at the time of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So this is very much where they would have been at the time. It's a very fitting place to have a wonderful reading like this. That's really about it for an intro.
Woohoo!
And all you need, that's the basics.
Good job.
So, please enjoy.
Good afternoon. Happy Independence Day.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much for joining us today on this hot, humid July 4th for the 250th. You know, it was hot and humid in Philadelphia in 1776, so we are providing you with a historically accurate experience, everyone. So thank you for being here. My name is Hillary Miller. I am the Chief of Interpretation here at Adams National Historical Park. We are so thrilled to be able to welcome you here as part of our Independence 250 programming. In just a minute, we are going to be doing our final reading of the Declaration of Independence for the day, but that doesn't mean 250's over. We have a lot coming up. Reading of the Declaration of Independence. We're going to need some volunteers. This is participatory, so if you're interested in reading a section, come on up. You can get in a line. So Ranger Aaron will be the start of the line. Try to get yourselves into the shade.
In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 states of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
But when a long train of abuses and aspirations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend them.
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only.
He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people.
He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within.
He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands.
He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payments of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither a swarm of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance.
He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation.
For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial, punishment any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states.
We're cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. We're imposing taxes on us without our consent. We're depriving us, in many cases, of the benefits of trial by jury.
For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies.
For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. For suspecting our laws, our own legislators, and declaring themselves vested with power and legislate for us in all cases whatsoever.
He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burned our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people.
He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation.
He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands.
He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince, whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant, is unfit to be the ruler of a free people.
Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement.
We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations. which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends.
We, therefore, representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the restitute of our intentions, do, in the name and the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiances to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved.
And that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Well done, everyone. Let's hear it again for our volunteers today.
I just want to say, too, that I loved that reading because you had like so many different types of people, and the Irishman reading from the deck, that was very touching. And Kay's like, that's funny. The Irish guy went up there. I'm like, well, if you think about it, he definitely, as an Irishman, probably values liberty very much. So, very cool moment. To Boston, Massachusetts on the 250th anniversary of America. We are here in front of the old State House, the place where the deck was read for the first time in the state of Massachusetts. You guys are going to have to get used to me saying state and not colony anymore, because now we are, in fact, and ought to be, free and independent states. It is also Boston Harbor Fest, America 250, and of course, the 4th of July. So, a lot going on in town today. We thought we would hang out and take a look, take in some of the festivities. It is 100 degrees, so we'll see what we can do given that. There's a nice breeze right now, and it's not crazy overhead sun, so we're hanging in. Looks like we got Uncle Sam up here. Uncle Sam, who's from New Hampshire and Massachusetts, respectively. There's a lot of people in town walking the Freedom Trail into the old State House gift shop to see what's new merchandise-wise. It's one of the best, in my opinion, historical type gift shops in Boston. Lots of Boston 250 merch. I would drink coffee because I like my coffee and I like my tea in the harbor. This is super cute. I actually love this. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. I could get that for Culper. If you guys don't know, we have an English Springer Spaniel named Culper. Though he's an English breed, he's a spy for General Washington. That is very cute. You guys, this is really good. Look at Ben Franklin's artwork here from the French and Indian War. What a mug. That's brilliant. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I love how it's like a vintage, and it reminds me of Johnny Tremaine, a very important movie to my childhood that kind of sparked everything. This is what I need right now, is a hat. Keep the sun off my face. I've been reapplying sunblock like crazy. Always love their Boston Massacre merch, and of course, makes sense that they always have cool stuff for that, since that went down right here in front of the old State House. So, the old State House itself, very, very important. From the 1770 massacre to the 1776 reading of the Declaration of Independence, and so much else in between. Ooh, this is awesome. Look at that. Oh, we just had 250 of the Battle of Sullivan's Island. There is Colonel Maltery's flag right there. There is Washington's flag from Valley Forge. That thing flew at his headquarters in Valley Forge. So much good merch, you guys. These pins, they've got the Bennington flag here, which will be coming up. Let's go, John Stark. Such great stuff. Here's the junk rack. I love a good junk rack. Okay, guys. Can I rock a bucket hat? What do you say? Okay, literally saw a couple guys laughing at me, so I'm gonna take that as a hint. No bucket hat. Oh my gosh, like their stuff is that is so nice. See, it's not cheesy, it's not the same stuff you see everywhere. This, you guys, a keychain with a crate of tea. That is so stinking cute. Yeah, I'll definitely post the link so that you guys can see the inside of the State House and the museum elements of it. It's super fun. I also want to talk to you guys today about one of the signers that we have not discussed from Massachusetts, the wonderful Robert Treat Paine. So we'll be looking into his life in just a minute. But first, you guys got to check this out. The cones remain. In some cases, look at this. No Scotland, no party. Bill Russell has got the Duke of Wellington treatment. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, go watch my videos from when the Scottish Tartan Army was in town for the FIFA World Cup game. It will all be explained there. All right. There's a reason that Boston is known as the cradle of liberty. So much went down here. And don't think that because we're at 250 of the deck, that the 250th is over. We've got the 250th of the Rev War to celebrate and amazing moments in time to cover as the days and years go on here. So much in the early days happened right here. And there is Sam Adams in front of Faneuil Hall. Take a little breeze through Faneuil Hall. It's so hot in here. And I have never seen it so busy. This is crazy. Historic Faneuil Hall, built by Peter Faneuil, 1742. Always a meeting place. Still a meeting place. Market up here. And we're going to go check out some more of it. All right, so they are getting ready to close. So we said we've got 4 minutes. This is the Great Hall. And there, see Sam Adams up there. I couldn't film his statue outside because somebody had copyrighted music blasting. And there is General Washington, and that picture is depicting him during the Siege of Boston, Evacuation Day. And up there, that is our friend, Mr. John Hancock. We've been talking a lot about the last couple of days. John Adams there in the middle. John Quincy Adams there. Frederick Douglass. Here is Peter Faneuil, who built this place. He was extremely wealthy and one of my favorite people on the planet. At the tippity top, that is General Knox, General Henry Knox, who was born and raised right here in Boston, actually very close to where we are standing. House is no longer there, but he also ran a bookstore called the London Bookshop down the road, also not standing. And then in later life, he moved up to Thomaston, Maine, where we have also visited, and that is a reproduction of his beautiful Mount Pelier home there in Thomaston. We can have a brief, very brief, we're getting kicked out, great moment with Mr. Lincoln. Real quick before we depart, I cannot go without showing you Dr. General Joseph Warren. Of course, he passed away at the Battle of Bunker Hill. He was from Roxbury, Massachusetts. Wonderful, wonderful man. Built in 1742, given to the town of Boston by Peter Faneuil, a French Huguenot parentage. They were a marginalized and persecuted group of people. The French non-Catholics. And many came to America to search for freedom and found it. The first story uses a market, and the upper story is a town hall, burned in 1761, rebuilt in 1763, somewhat enlarged here both before and during the Revolution. were held many patriotic meetings which kept alive among the people the fires of freedom and stirred them to greater deeds, from which fact the hall became known as the Cradle of Liberty. So Boston's known as the Cradle of Liberty, and very specifically right here, Faneuil Hall. The absolute definite location of the Cradle of Liberty in the heart of the city. It is so great to see so many people out here enjoying the historic city of Boston on our 250th anniversary. We're walking in 100-degree heat because I want to show you something pretty cool up here. Remnants of one of our 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. I also say that today should be the day that we finally visit the Granary Burial Ground. Oh gosh, I hope they're open. They're never open. I hope they're open. Hopefully we can find what we're looking for, because it's literally just a plaque on the side of a building. But it's important. Very important. I see the plaque we're looking for. On this site stood the house of Robert Treat Paine, signer of the Declaration of Independence. He died in the same house on the 11th of May, 1814. And this tablet is placed here by the city of Boston. And now it's just a big, ugly office building. Now, Robert Treat Paine, amazing, wonderful man, often overlooked when you consider that the other signers are Sam Adams, John Hancock, and Elbridge Gerry, who we have talked about. I'll leave a link in the description to the video from Marblehead. Some people call him Elbridge Gerry, but his name was Gary, but he sadly is what the term gerrymandering is named after, unfairly too. But we have talked about them, and we have not yet talked about Robert Treat Paine. Robert Treat Paine's father was a pastor. His mother was the daughter of a pastor, and he himself was a chaplain during the French and Indian War. He served at Crown Point, where we just were. And talk about another full circle moment here. We were just recently at Crown Point, and this amazing man served as a chaplain there. He was a devout Christian, very strong faith that played a central role in his life. He went to Harvard. He was the first Attorney General of Massachusetts, and his skills were really put to the test. He was the lawyer for both the Boston Massacre and Shays' Rebellion. He was a member of the Continental Congress and, of course, a signer of the Declaration of Independence. I probably look so gross right now because I am pouring sweat. So I apologize if I look scary. There's to be some of my peeps here in a full uniform in this 100-degree weather up here. Now, you guys know the actor Treat Williams, who sadly passed away a few years ago? He was in a terrible accident in Vermont. The actor from Everwood, we loved that show back in the day. Treat Williams was a descendant of Robert Treat Paine. Okay, so we were on our way to the Granary Burial Ground, and guess what? It's closed. So we will have to visit the final resting place of Sam Adams, John Hancock, and Robert Treat Paine, signers of the Declaration of Independence, a different day. And I keep saying that. Maybe one day we'll get here and it will be open. We'll figure out something else to do, and I'll keep telling you about Robert Treat Paine. Nonetheless, he married Sally Cobb, and they had 8 children. So many descendants of the Treats and Paines fanned all across the country. But yeah, the actor Treat Williams, deep New England roots going directly back to the signer of the Declaration of Independence. Robert Treat Paine practiced law in Boston. He also practiced law in Taunton, and then kind of went back and forth between Taunton and Boston. He was very well-traveled, well-respected, founding member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, served as the Justice of the Supreme Court. He did pass away at the age of 83, which is a nice ripe old age for the time, and he is buried in the Granary Burial Ground, which you will have to use your imagination. I'll insert a picture of his grave and headstone now. So yeah, that is a little look we'll try to delve deeper. I wish his home was still standing so we had something to go to, and I wish the granary was open so we could pay respects, so we will do that another time. But I wanted to cover all the signers today on the 250th of the Declaration of Independence. I am that history chick, and like Patrick Henry, I know of no way of judging the future but by the past. The past is so alive, real, waiting to be explored. It's definitely in Quincy, Massachusetts, and it's all across this beautiful, incredible, independent and free for 250 years country of ours. Thanks again so much for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, I'm also on Instagram at @that_historychick, on Facebook at @thathistorychick, and right here on the YouTube at @thathistorychick with more content like this and more coming your way. We will see you very, very soon. Happy 4th of July. God bless you guys. Love you all. Take care.